What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Friday, wrapping up this week. The first full week of May is about in the books, and Titans have their rookie minicamp practice that's open to the media tomorrow on a Saturday, and we'll get our first chance to really see Cam Ward on the football field wearing his Titans #1, his new Titans helmet that we got a sneak peek of on social media yesterday. But Cam Ward and the rest of this rookie class is going to be on the field throughout the weekend and going to have a great show discussing really what we should be looking for Cam Ward and our first exposure to him in person. I'll be out there at the St. Thomas Sports Park tomorrow. Practice gets underway at noon on Saturday Central Time, and then having availability a couple hours after that. So we're going to have some great content hitting your timelines Saturday afternoon going in to a new week. And the rest of the rookie class, the other draft picks are going to be out there. A handful of them signed their contracts this week as well. And the Titans announced 16 members of their undrafted free agent class as well. So we'll discuss those guys. One of them has a rare opportunity. Xavier Restrepo and Cam Ward. They both have a rare opportunity in rookie minicamp this weekend. Can they take advantage of it? And what does that look like? And then other UDFAs that we think have a good chance to make the team, other UDFAs and other rookie class guys that you are most interested in as well from the chat. And so Ryan will do that. Then we'll get a little good news. And hey, you got some good news. There's a Titans UDFA class guy that you have a connection with.
Yes. Yeah. No,
so
it's a
one
it's
of your products, yeah. Right? You can now say there's an NFL. You have an NFL product under your sleeve there.
Well, not yet. I mean, he has to make the roster, right? Before he's
this counts. Take it. Yeah. This counts.
Well, no, I'm excited to talk about this whole rookie class, obviously, because I know people want to hyper focus on the quarterback, and I get it. It's the start of a new era, but there's a lot of talent that is going to be on the field this weekend, and the first looks, obviously, in a Titans uniform. So excited to get into it. Before we get into it, though, folks, make sure this morning. Don't forget to share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that share button on the bottom right-hand corner and get it out on your feed. If you're watching live on YouTube, take that YouTube link and send it to a friend in your life or on one of your favorite group chats. Just hit that Titans fan that you know and let them know that A to Z Sports is live and talking rookie minicamp, 2025, NFL draft class, and the future of the Tennessee Titans. You can also repost us on Twitter or X to help spread the word. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and leave a like on the show before we before we get going here on a wonderful Friday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports here live on a Friday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Ryan Roberts of A to Z Sports Film Room. We're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Leave us that 5-star Google review for A to Z Sports if you can as well. But got to thank our sponsor before we officially get going. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And the Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They're local to the Nashville area. They're online at bartondrury.com. So Ryan Roberts, again, this week, A to Z Sports Film Room. You have done so many breakdowns of this draft class, you and Joe DeLeon, over the last handful of months at A to Z Sports Film Room. So if you guys are not subscribed to the A to Z Sports Film Room YouTube channel, follow the A to Z Sports Film Room on Instagram. You should be doing that. Content galore. So, Ryan, as we enter rookie minicamp, I wanted to ask you, because you have watched more Cam Ward probably than anybody watching the show, and that includes me. So I'm going to have a chance to see Cam Ward in person for the first time tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. Easton's out of town. His sister's graduating college. So that opens the door for me to just show up to rookie minicamp like, all right, let's see what this guy looks like. So as I take that practice field on the sideline, what are some things that you think I should notice and should be looking for when I'm watching Cam Ward, the #1 overall pick at quarterback, on the practice field for his new team?
Well, I mean, I think there's two biggest things that you want to see, and one is a tangible thing that you're going to see very easily, and then other things like an intangible thing. So, like from the tangible perspective, he started his career at Incarnate Word. We know the story. He goes up to Washington State, goes down to Miami. the reason that he's been able to continue to ascend upward as far as new opportunities is because he's got incredible arm talent. I mean, the ball just flies off his hand. So I think first and foremost, what do you want to see as a Titans fan or just a Titan media member or whatever? You want to see if the goods are as good as what people have talked about them in the pre-draft process, because Cam didn't throw at the combine. He didn't, he did his pro day stuff, but like you haven't seen a ton of Cam in the pre-draft process because you knew he was going to go number one overall. So you want to see first and foremost, is the athletic and physical skill set as advertised? Does the ball come off with as much velocity as people have been talking about throughout the draft process? Can he also throw from those different platforms? Can he do some of these things that you need to do in the modern NFL to be able to be a really successful quarterback? That's first and foremost. I think the other thing, though, Austin, which is interesting, is any person that I've ever talked to that's been around Cam, whether it's inside the Miami facility, whether it's inside Washington State, even somebody, I even talked to somebody about when he was back at Incarnate Word in his brief time there for a season and a half because of the COVID stuff. He is a player that, and I think this was probably a big sell to the Tennessee Titans to a degree, is that he's a player that says a lot without saying much at all, in the sense of he has an aura around him, a confidence about him that you just feel it. Like you don't have to hear it. It's not like the rah rah, let's go guys. Here's our victory speech before the game goes, like that type of stuff. It's when he's around, you feel more confident. You feel like you have your guy under center. And while this is a brief showing this weekend, and you're not going to get all of that, I am interested to see if some people just leave it saying like, there's a confidence about that kid. There's something different about him. There's a swagger that ultimately has been missing in that quarterback room, I think, for a few years now. And when I say that, I mean the subtle confidence that you think is organic. It's real. It's not manufactured. It is something that you just can't quite quantify.
No, and that makes sense. And like, if you're in a locker room, if you're in a company, if you're in a team, you can tell when something's not authentic. You can tell when leadership is fake or forced, and you can tell when it's absolutely real. And, guys in the NFL can sniff that out because they've been a part of teams and locker rooms their entire life. So a couple comments to get to. So the tangible part of it, the arm strength, we'll touch on that and the arm talent before getting to the intangible. Tall Texan says, arm talent is the last thing you should look for. Levis has arm talent. Well, I think I get what you're saying, Tall Texan, because yes, Will Levis looks phenomenal in practice where no shoulder pads are being worn for the most part.
Sure.
He looks good going out there. Like, and I think that's the good thing for me is that I know what Will Levis looks like in this setting. I know what a Malik Willis looked like. I know what Marcus Mariota looked like, Ryan Tannehill, all these Titans quarterbacks going back to Jake Locker of my first time covering Titans practice, seeing what quarterbacks look and feel like on the practice field and comparing them. Marcus, the ball never jumped out of Marcus's hand. Right? Like you could feel Ryan Tannehill's control of a huddle. Marcus had some real speed that made him feel different. Jake Locker was kind of you didn't really notice much of anything. And then you got guys like Zach Mettenberger that you noticed the things that were like, oh, this guy's a little bit of a wild card, and all these other things. So like with Malik Willis, you noticed how raw and how unpolished he was and how his technique was very sloppy and kind of all over the place. But he had a cannon, and you could see that. Will Levis looks like a lab-built quarterback in practice. His release is quick. His mechanics are really tight. He's rocked up. He's athletic, can move. Now, how does Cam Ward compare to all those things in person? So I think the arm talent matters because I know what I can look for and how I can compare it. Now, the intangible stuff. Do you have something to add to the arm talent?
Yeah, I was just gonna say is that I feel like everyone has a different definition of arm talent as well.
Yeah.
Like that's just a very cliche term. Arm talent is being able to fit balls into windows that they probably shouldn't be able to fit it into also, right? Like just because Will Levis, for instance, had a quick release and he had a very strong arm, does not mean that he could layer a football over a linebacker in front of a safety. Like those are the innate things that we're talking about with arm talent and why I would argue that Will Levis doesn't have a ton of arm talent. He's a talented thrower. He's not a talented passer. Like there's a huge distinction there and there's a huge difference in my opinion, right? So I think we're looking for, can Cam Ward put the football in the windows that we have not seen for the Tennessee Titans the last couple years? Can we see a guy that isn't just about trying to throw a ball as hard as he can consistently. Can he take something off the football? Can he throw from different arm angles and different trajectories? Like that all I think is all encompassing arm talent. It all matters. It's not just it's not a one size fit all thing, in my opinion, of a definition. There are layers to what arm talent truly is.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Good point on that one. So the intangible, I'm also excited to see, and we've heard stories. I saw and heard Josh Pate of 24/7 CBS Sports talking to Buck Rising about how he took control of Miami practices that were the player-led practices right after he arrived on campus. Does he do that similar thing in the NFL with the rookie minicamp? It's just rookies out there, and maybe a couple like practice squad level players that are still young in their career. So there's no veterans. There's no other true like grown men with like a family that Cam Ward's going to be out there practicing with this weekend. It's all young guys. How does he elevate those young guys? Because I think that's definitely something that you can feel from the sideline. So there's another thing I wanted to talk through, and this is where we're going to get you guys involved here in the chat, is that Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo do have a rare opportunity this weekend for Titans rookie minicamp. Cam Ward is the number 1 overall pick. Xavier Restrepo is undrafted. There were 257 guys drafted and 256 after Cam Ward. Xavier Restrepo was an All-American receiver at Miami with Cam Ward last year. He goes undrafted because he ran a 4.8 plus 40 at his pro day. Hamstring injury or not good. Even if he was healthy, he's maybe 4.6 at best. And that's not great when you're 5'11", 200 pounds. He's got short area quickness. He knows how to get open. He's productive. He's got all those things, but can he succeed and win and create separation and get open at the NFL level? All these are valuable questions that made Restrepo go undrafted. Now, I want to know this, and this is something that we'll have to just find out at practice. The Titans drafted 3 pass catchers in the 4th round. Chimere Dike out of Florida, Gunnar Helm, tight end out of Texas, and Elik Ioman, or a wide receiver out of Stanford, were all in the 4th round. Does the relationship with Xavier Restrepo give him a heads up and a edge over any of these other pass catchers that are working with Cam Ward? Because relationship between quarterback and pass catcher is very important. Automatically, Cam knows how he can trust Restrepo to get to his spot. He's going to be on time. He's reliable. He can get open. He can catch the football, and they know how to work with each other. So how does this compare to the draft picks and the undrafted guy? And then I don't know if Bryce Oliver's going to be there. I don't know if some of these other, Mason Kinsey usually is at rookie minicamp to kind of set the tone for drills and all that. How does Xavier Restrepo get extra opportunities, and what does he do with those extra opportunities? Because he's the only guy who's had substantial practice time with the number 1 overall pick that's going to be here this weekend. I think that's a big deal. How do you feel about that?
Oh no, I think it is for sure. I would say he has an inside track to being a guy that's on the roster bubble if it comes down to that, right? Like if we're talking about 2 to 3 wide receivers, 1 spot available, I have to think that Cam Ward has a little bit of say into that conversation, right? Like he's the quarterback. Who do you want to throw to? Who do you want to be on this roster? So I think that he does have a little bit of insights and a little bit of just like an inside track to potentially making the roster if it comes down to a final couple cuts. But I really do think, Austin, like seeing him in person, I think is so important for you. It's so important for others. It's so important for the coaches, like everybody, because at the end of the day, he was incredibly productive at Miami, incredibly productive. And there are some players that are not on paper these dynamic NFL athletes who just know how to get open, who just make plays, that we see it all the time. I mean, there's been some good wide receivers the last couple of years that are 4.6 something athletes. And then we can even throw in like a Keenan Allen that ran 4.71. And like, there's outliers there for sure. Mm-hmm. But does it translate in this type of a setting where guys that you're going against are bigger, faster, stronger? Windows are going to get smaller. Are you able to create instant separation and create enough separation for that to translate to the NFL level? That is going to be something fascinating to watch. And I think you'll be able to see it pretty quickly, man. Like you'll be able to see it pretty quickly. Is he a good enough athlete to play on the NFL level? I think you're going to get some insight into that this weekend.
Yeah. So, and Easton made this point in our pre-show call that this is the only chance that Restrepo gets, because once the veterans and rookies merge, Cam Ward will be getting higher level reps than an undrafted rookie free agent receiver is going to get. Cam Ward's going to be getting the reps with Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, insert other player there, and Xavier Restrepo is probably going to be catching passes from Tim Boyle and Brandon Allen, right? So, like, this is it for Restrepo to showcase that he belongs, and can he do something more with it as the offseason program continues to roll? So, I want to ask this question to the audience here, because Restrepo is a very popular name. I think it was an immediate connection. It was a smart thing for the Titans to do, to go sign him as an undrafted free agent after the draft. So I want to know what percentage chance you guys think that Xavier Restrepo has to make the roster, make the 53-man roster out of training camp. Here's the graphic that we showed yesterday, Ryan, with Ethan and I's conversation. This was the Gabe Davis, maybe, yeah, I don't know. But so this is the whole, like, which lunch table would you rather sit at? So room A and room C are kind of the same, minus Gabe Davis for Van Jefferson trade. But room B is the youth movement, right? It's Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, and then it's a bunch of guys that have caught a total of 6 passes in DK, Iomanor, Bryce Oliver, who has all 6, and then Xavier Restrepo, and then James Prochet is a special teamers that John Bones Fossil signed as he became the special teams coach out of the gates later on this offseason. So you've got, this is the projected receiver room. And I do find it interesting that Xavier Restrepo is on in all 3 rooms, kind of, with the 7 slot shared with Prochet there. So I want to know, what percentage chance do you guys give Xavier Restrepo to make the Titans roster, to make the 53-man roster overall? I see a lot of percentages coming in here. We'll get to you guys here in the chat momentarily. But first, we'll tell everybody about the Barton Drury Insurance Group. Customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They are local to the Nashville area, and they have actually combined 2 companies to do everything when it comes to the insurance world. When Zach and I were shopping around to find health coverage for our employees, for our company, we talked to a few different options, and we settled with a great option, and that is the Barton Drury Insurance Group. BartonDrury.com is where to go. They can do just about everything, and literally everything. They sell employee benefits, which we got, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, got that too, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and much more. And since they are local, they're very accessible. You can call them, you can Zoom with them, you can email back and forth all you want to make sure that you have the best understanding of your insurance policy you possibly can. And those guys will help you through it, whether it's Brian, Adam, Charles, or Mike. They will all be accessible and be on your side to make sure that you and your family, your situation, are all covered with insurance needs at BartonDrury.com.
Folks, before we continue our conversation about Xavier Restrepo and his ability to make the Titans roster in 2025, make sure you're hitting that like button if you're live with us on YouTube. You also subscribe while you're at it. And then if you could, for just a few minutes after, because this literally takes a blink of an eye, after the show, if you can go on Google, give a 5-star Google review. If you have constructive criticism, that's totally fine, but make sure that it has a 5-star review attached.
All right, so what percentage chance do you think wide receiver Xavier Restrepo has to make the Titans 53-man roster? So, Ryan, I'm going to send you the chat.
Let's do it.
Let's see if I can find a YouTube poll. I might try to see if I can slice up some percentage points in 4 different options for a YouTube poll here. But what percentage chance do you give Xavier Restrepo to make the Titans roster because of the edge that he has with quarterback Cam Ward?
Well, we have a lot of high percentages early. We had Steven, who threw in a 97%. Tall Texan one-upped him and said 100% chance to make the roster. Kendall said 70. Vanessa says 75. Truly says 70 to 90%. 45%. Very specific there from Joshua, so slightly below 50. Richie agrees it's 45%. Steven gets very, very specific. 96.73% chance to make it. Rooney says 40, 90 from hashtag. We got 85 from Biggie. We only have a 10% chance, our lowest so far, from Guy Man. 95% from Derek, 75 from Mega Guy. We got 90 from Jake, 15% chance from Jason Martinez, 60 from Hyar Hoshi. We got 70% from Darius Horton. We have 8%. Now our new low on the scale here from Maven Cole says only 8% chance. 60 from Demario, excuse me. We have a 50% from Joe, 37.7 from Titans Kyle, another very specific one, 30% from Brad, 80% from Jer, 70%, 100% from Rashid Jenkins. Our second 100% are on here. We have like 1,000,000% that was thrown into the chat there, 70%, 70%. Also, we had, so just kind of my deduction skills real quick. We had some that are extremely high, like in the 90s, 100s. We had some that are extremely low, around 10%. But I would say the majority, the most common one that I saw was somewhere around 70% chance to make the roster, it seems.
All right. I did put up a YouTube poll.
Love it.
I found I only have 4 options on YouTube to do that. So when you have 100% and you're trying to find that, I think I got something. A couple comments I want to get to. Big Tin Jeff, who is Elk70 on YouTube, Super Chat says, let's be realistic. Titans fans only like Restrepo because he was Cam's teammate. He is not good and very average with speed. Titans can do better. So, very not good. I mean, the guy had 69 catches, 1,100 yards plus, and double-digit touchdowns with Miami last year. Now, the ACC is probably all caps not good as a whole, as a conference, but Restrepo was an All-American. Like he's Miami's all-time leading receiver. There was a lot of guys wearing gold jackets that played wide receiver at Miami. Yes. And Xavier Restrepo has better numbers than all of them. Now, he played a long time, which you get the benefit of the doubt.
But he was productive without Cam Ward though too, right? Like It's not just that the one season with Cam Ward is when Xavier Restrepo broke out. Like he was productive before Cam ever even got there with not good quarterback play. So I think it's going to be a deep conversation. And honestly, Elks, like for me, I think that we need to also have a conversation point of speed matters, obviously on the NFL level at wide receiver, but it matters less for the position that Xavier Restrepo plays at, right? Like we see a lot of good slot receivers in the NFL that are like 4'6" something guys, a lot of them. I mean, you talk about guys like, I know they're different body types, but Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, like there's a bunch of dudes right now in the NFL playing slots that were not explosive. I mean, Keenan Allen was a guy that ran 4.71 coming out of Cal. I know he's a different body type, so it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison. But I do think that there is a conversation point that needs to happen. It's not like we're saying, hey guys, we're throwing this 5'11", 200-pound, 4'7" something probably on a good day guy into the boundary and asking him to win one-on-one coverage against your best corner. Like we're saying, this is a slot receiver. And he needs to beat out guys like James Prochet and like that type of brand of player to make the roster. So I do think that the athleticism stuff is concerning. There's no doubt. But I do think it's slightly less concerning when you do consider the alignment that he's going to play a lot of the time. It's not like we're saying he's a big boundary big boundary X receiver that can't separate because he doesn't have long speed.
Totally. So you mentioned his productivity without Cam Ward. 2 seasons ago, he had 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns on 85 catches, almost 1,100 yards. So just like 30 less yards without Cam Ward, 5 less touchdowns. He was obviously better with Cam Ward, but still really good. So you're talking about the last 25 games that Xavier Restrepo has played. I'm doing live math on air, which is always a dangerous thing. But he's got 150 catches and 2,200 yards and 17 touchdowns in his last 25 college games. That's very strong. Like how many, like it's like 1,000 yards receiving in college is not like common,
No.
It's not like the NFL where you just get 1,000 yards because you average 60 a game, like Calvin Ridley did. 1,000 yards in college, you are doing some stuff right there. So
You can also do a who's who of that season that you're talking about where he had the 1,000 yards before Cam got there. You want to do a who's who of who was throwing him the football that season too?
I have no idea. Like, I don't have one name to throw.
I think it was like Emery Williams and Tyler Van Dyke was gone, right? Like no, Tyler Van Dyke was still there, but he was banged up. So he had like Tyler Van Dyke and Emery Williams, and it's just like guys, come on, man. Like he was productive without a number 1 overall draft pick, which is kind of the point there. So
Right.
yeah.
And guys who will not play any NFL football, really,
No.
that he was productive with. So Bizarro PK says, you don't cut Cam's boy unless he's horrible. And I don't think he's going to be horrible. Like, I don't think he's got that type of floor. So I did put up a YouTube poll, Ryan, because we'll get back to the what percentage chance you think Xavier Restrepo has to make the 53-man roster. So my 4 options that I'm limited to on YouTube, I've got one of them was a 49% chance or lower.
Mm-hmm.
I have 51 to 64%.
Okay.
Notice no 50 is an option. You can't just say 50. That's a cop-out. Then the next option is 65 to 84. And then 85 to 99%. So I think I did a pretty good job of slicing that up.
That's really good, actually. If I had to do an early prediction, I think that you said it was 65 to 84 was the third
65
option.
to 84 is the third option.
That would probably be where I would guess the majority would come from comparative to the other 4, but that's just an early guess on my part.
Okay. So
we'll
that is the leading vote getter with 32%, 31%. It's bouncing around. 65 to 84. What do you think the next highest vote getting slot is? 49% or lower, 51 to 64, or 85 to 99?
I would say 51 to 64 would be number 2, I think.
85 to 99.
Wow. So people think he's making the roster. Like they think it. They think it. Yeah.
It's like 30% is 65 to 84 now. 29% is 85 to 99. So you've got 59%, Ryan, are giving him a 65% chance or better to make the roster.
So, I mean, just straight up, just the majority of people believe, at least in this sample size that we have so far, and the chat too, I think reflected this as well.
Yeah.
They think Xavier Restrepo is making the roster. Like they do. They think that he's making the day 1 roster. And we're not talking about are we talking about practice squad in this conversation?
No,
we're talking about
53-man roster,
right?
Yeah. Practice squad is not making the roster, right?
Yeah, sure. Wow. It's interesting because, like you said, I mean, they drafted 2 wide receivers. I know Van Jefferson's not very good, but he's at least started NFL games, so like he's on there. Tyler Lockett's a part of the room now. Obviously, Calvin Ridley. So it's not like there's nobody, right? I know people. Again, it's still not a good wide receiver room. It still needs to get better. There's no doubt. Some of these young guys need to develop, but it's not like it by default's conversation. Like Xavier Restrepo does need to go play well in order to make the roster. So it's interesting. We'll see.
So I'm going to pull this graphic up again. Let's just focus on room B and C, right? Because Gabe Davis I don't think it's going to happen. But locks, I think, to make the roster. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, DK, and Io Manor.
Yep.
Those 4 absolute locks, 100%. I think Bryce Oliver has like a 90% chance to make the roster. I think they like him as a gunner and they like him as a receiver. Then you get 2 spots left. Max. Could just keep 6. Traylon Burks is going to start the season on PUP. He's not a part of this conversation.
Right.
Other guys that are options are Jaquan Jackson. I think that ship has sailed after 1 year from Tulane. Then moving on.
Punt return guru, man.
Punt return punt dropping guru is my new name for that. So I think Jaquan Jackson is an option. Colton Dowell has missed a lot of football time with the torn ACL. Unfortunately, I don't think he has a chance really. Then you have guys like Mason Kinsey who are going to be really good practice players to help push the young guys, but I don't think Mason Kinsey makes the team. There's the fringe like UDFA type guys, but there's not really anybody else who has any NFL experience beyond what you have on your screen. Right. And I honestly don't think I didn't mention Van Jefferson as a lock. I don't think Van Jefferson's a lock. I think he is a very cuttable veteran contract in this situation right now. Right?
Man. That's the end of Van Jefferson's career if he doesn't make the roster, right? Because if you can't make that wide receiver room, you're like, all right, it might be time to hang it up
but
here.
I think and this is what Easton and I talked about yesterday, and we can kind of get your thoughts on this, is do you want to have your younger receiving options have a better chance to gain that early experience, Or do you want to make sure that you have an extra veteran in Van Jefferson to make Cam Ward not get hung out to dry? Because young wide receivers make mental mistakes, mental errors.
They do. They do. Yeah.
Veterans usually don't.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said, though, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you obviously cover this a lot closer than I do, but there is still some, like, there's a runway here to when the Tennessee Titans are the best version of themselves, in the sense of, I do think as long as there's progress in 2025, let's say they win 7-8 games, somewhere in that ballpark, and they show a lot of improvement from last season, there's still a runway to, oh man, we're excited for 2026 now. Like, you show progress. I think this season is about progress. You want to see progress ultimately.
You're right.
And with that involved, I think it's okay for Cam and some of the younger receivers to grow together this year. Like, they're going to make mistakes. Cam's going to make mistakes. Some of the wide receivers are going to make mistakes, but I think it's very, there's something to be said of, like, if we get an Alec Iomanner a lot of reps this year, he's going to make his mistakes, but then 2026, he's a much better version for themselves, right? Totally. And so it's very interesting, because I kind of lean that way personally. Like, I would rather see the young kids come in and play. You upgraded your offensive line to probably the most stable it's been over the last couple of years. So I think you have the opportunity to let some of your young skill position players learn on the job a little bit, because they could be a little bit more protected than they have been in years past. So I'm there for learning on the job, man, because you're already breaking in a rookie quarterback, so you might as well let everybody learn on the job a little bit.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is, like, in Easton and I brought this up yesterday, is you don't want a rookie quarterback to catch the consequences of young receivers making mental errors that usually turn up on the quarterback's shoulders. And so I think that's where having a Van Jefferson around is just an extra little delaying of that, to allow for a little bit more time for your young guys to come along before they get thrown out there into the fire too much. So, but I think it's the right balance of what we're saying, of getting guys early opportunities so they can accelerate that growth for 2026 with Cam, versus not just letting Cam go out there with unreliable guys that don't know what they're doing yet.
You know what? It's kind of interesting to the Shedeur Sanders conversation we had the other day of what are you willing to put up with for the level of talent that they bring to the table? It's the same thing with Van Jefferson a little bit, to a degree, right? It's like Van Jefferson at best is a very below average wide receiver in the NFL. That's what he's been, right? So are you willing to sacrifice younger players getting opportunities to play a guy that's probably just a below average wide receiver? Like, does Van Jefferson have any upside left to him where you're like, oh no, I think if you give him more reps, he could be an average to above average NFL wide receiver? Like, I just don't think he is that, right? So that's ultimately why I would rather go young, because why would I sacrifice opportunities for reps and growth for a guy that is also going to be, the way I'm looking at it is that with the mental mistakes that Alec is probably going to make in year one, he's probably going to be, in a vacuum, a below average NFL wide receiver year one. Van Jefferson probably is going to be the same thing. So it's not like I'm getting a massive upgrade just because a guy is more fundamentally sound or more assignment correct. The younger guy is just going to give me a higher ceiling, which I think is what I'm ultimately looking for over the next year of development.
Well, and so it's like, if they're equal, then the young guy is going to win over Van Jefferson. When does Alec, DK, Restrepo, Bryce Oliver even, when are they equal to Van Jefferson? Is it June, July, August, or is it September or October, where they get equal and then Van's now out and the young guy gets it? I could see it being like Van Jefferson makes the team because you need him for the first 4 weeks of the season, and then after that, he probably phases out as a young guy phases up. I think that's kind of what a likely situation.
Well, that's the other fascinating part of the conversation, and we could circle back to Restrepo, because I saw some people in the chat say the same thing. If Xavier Restrepo does make the team, what is the most likely outcome for his role in 2025? Is he a guy that down the stretch starts earning reps, like legitimately important reps? Is he just an end to the roster? Because here's the thing with the lack of speed thing that we talked about. Here's where it's a little bit troubling of a guy that's just the 6th, 7th receiver on a roster, is those guys do need to play special teams, right? Like, that's their role. Is Xavier Restrepo at 5'11" and running probably, again, if he's healthy, maybe he runs high 4.6, like let's just say 4.68 to 4.72 for argument's sake.
Sure.
Is a 5'11", 4.7 flat guy going to be a a
gunner.
like is he going to be anything on a coverage team? Like is he going to be a guy that you can depend on? Like that's where like this thing gets really fascinating of if he's not playing and he's not contributing offensively, does he bring enough from a special teams value perspective to make a roster?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
If I'm going to be in the Xavier Restrepo camp on this thing, at least he's 200 pounds, right? It's not like he's 5'11", 185 or 180 like Kyle Phillips, where Kyle Phillips get broken in half. Restrepo can at least play with a little bit of strength and has some weight to him, Like I always
old man strength, man. Got that old man strength. Yeah.
I always said like when in football, like being strong is important, right? I remember this when I was a wide receiver and one of my buddies was a corner. I had like 25 pounds on the corner. He outlifted me in the weight room, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Me blocking him because he weighs nothing. Like it doesn't matter what he can bench or clean if I can just move him because I can bench and clean more than he weighs. So like weight does matter there, And so like, it play strength, play weight. I think Restrepo's got that on his side to help him a little bit on special teams. But I think to answer your question, Restrepo is probably the last guy on the roster to make the team if he makes the team. He's probably inactive on game day as long as Tyler Lockett's healthy, right? And I think he's just there to be there. And then you probably have DK, Bryce Oliver, who are special teams opportunities with Elikai Manor, maybe learning special teams on the fly that can come in and do some of those gunner spots, along with whatever your cornerback room looks like too, and safeties. So,
yeah.
So,
it's interesting.
All right. So let's back to the poll because we're still at like 60% of the answers have Restrepo's percentage of making the team at 65% or higher. So that's pretty crazy. Ryan, what's your percentage at?
I would say, I actually wasn't even prepared for that. I think it's slightly better than 50%. I would probably go
the 51, 64.
Yeah, I would go to that window. I think it's like 55% if I had to put an exact thing on it. Like I think it's above 50%, just kind of what we're talking about with the combination of you have a veteran like Van Jefferson, who is not a guy that is a foregone conclusion to be on the roster. And then the back end of the other options have been guys that while they have more experience and have been around the team longer, does that really matter because the wide receiver unit has not been good enough, right? So like that experience, I don't think matters a ton ultimately. And Xavier Restrepo is a guy that also has experience. So I'll say it's above 50%, 55%. I'm not willing to say 70 plus this guy's making a roster, but I do think that he has an inside track with the Cam thing and the fact that he is a very productive wide receiver on a team that needs more productive wide receivers ultimately.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm with you. I think that is the right place to be here. To Jeff's super chat from earlier about he's not good, he went undrafted for a reason. We know that. I think what we don't know is what do the Titans think about him? Because Jeff said in his super chat, he's only here because Cam wanted him here. Is that the truth? Like, if the Titans didn't have a 7th round pick, right? So I think if you're playing how can we try to look behind the curtain to see, do the Titans like Xavier Restrepo? Or are they just doing their number 1 overall pick a favor by signing him to an undrafted free agent contract that's really no sweat? Because they didn't waste a draft pick on him because they didn't have a 7th rounder. So it's not like they could have said, well, he was worth 188, their last pick in the draft, when they got Mullings.
Right.
So you don't really know. Like if they had a 7th round pick and they passed on him, then you can say, okay, it's probably a favor. But would they have drafted him in the 7th round because they didn't want to miss out on that? I don't know. It's a hypothetical I'm throwing out there. I have no idea. But how do the Titans feel about it?
You just knowing, so the people that I know in the industry, right? The scouts that I know, both retired and still active in the NFL. Honestly, Austin, I think the minute he ran 4.8 something, teams are like, I can't draft that. I cannot mortgage a capital on that, right? Like, and again, that doesn't mean that he can't play. It doesn't mean he can't make the team. But I just think the stigma around that, the perspective of it is just. And I think it's that easy. Like people talk about like analytics and people talk about, the thresholds and the numbers and all these types of things. The minute a 5'11", 200-pound wide receiver ran 4.8 something, I think a team said, I can't talk to someone in the media, or I can't talk to someone, an owner, whatever, and validate me taking a chance on a guy who is an absolute historical outlier. We talked about this before. But if that 4.8 something is legit, here is the list of successful 4.8 wide receivers since the year 1999, according to Mock Draftable. That's it. There's none. There's just no. And as a scout, as an evaluator, you are taught it's okay to bet on outliers, but you don't want to bet on outliers too often. And you definitely don't want to bet on outliers too often that are of this historically bad context. Like, it's bad. So again, I think he'll make the roster because I think he's a better football player than he is an athlete ultimately. And I think that this is not a great room overall. But I think there is a conversation that needs to happen of like, if he makes the roster, this is a story, right?
Sure.
Like, this guy is like, you've never seen this before. You just haven't seen it. Because I know people earlier were like, oh, Jerry Rice ran a 4.7. 1, different era. 2, Jerry Rice is bigger. 3, 4.7 is different than 4.8. Like, it's just all so different. Keenan Allen ran 4.71. Keenan Allen was also 6'2 plus coming out of Cal. Like, he's a bigger body. Who else was it? Oh, it was Jarvis Landry is the only one that's like somewhat comparable because their body types are similar-ish. But even Jarvis Landry on a bad hamstring when he ran at the combine still ran almost 1/10 of a second faster than what Xavier Restrepo ran at his pro day. So this is a historical outlier, and it's totally okay. I'm telling everybody in the chat right now, if you think that he's going to make the roster, and I literally just said I think he's going to as well. I would say there's a better chance he doesn't than he does not. Just be aware, though, you are betting on a historical outlier, which is just a very interesting part of this conversation.
Nashville fan says nobody ever mentions his hamstring when we talk about the 40. Yeah, we have a few times, but it's like, that's just like is that like oh man, my hammy, like because it was slow? Did he pull his hamstring after he saw the clock? Or, I don't know. Like, it's because there was no hand. Like Gunnar Helm went through the combine with an ankle that was about the size of a softball, and nobody knew it until weeks later.
Yeah. But then he had proof of it. Like, you saw the picture of it. You're like, that was true. I'm not saying that Xavier Restrepo was lying. I have no idea. But all I'm saying is I coached high school football for a while, and I know that at some points when a play isn't made or a guy drops a pass or something, sometimes the ego injuries happen a little bit, right? And let's call it what it is. In this process, not everybody's honest all the time. They're not. I've seen plenty of guys who didn't run fast that, oh man, they were running with this, that, and whatever, right? And sometimes it's legitimate. Sometimes it's not. We can say, oh, he had a hamstring injury, but there's a lot of context there, and I don't know if it's 100% valid, to be honest.
SWW says his hamstring was tight. Well, yeah, probably because he's a 4.840 guy, and his hamstring's just tight. That's just how it is. Like, I don't know. But is even fast enough to pull a hamstring? Like, that's another question. So let's just say the hamstring thing is real. Okay, let's say it's legit. Okay, does it shave off? Does he get him under 4.6 like you're saying, or under 4.7 like you're saying? Maybe. Then like the best case scenario is he's Wes Welker. Because Wes Welker ran a 4.65 at under 6 foot, under 200 pounds, undrafted, productive college player. Now, obviously, Wes Welker is a freaking beast, but that is the ideal situation for Xavier Restrepo. If he was a 4.65 guy, is he drafted?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd say probably fifth, sixth, seventh, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Welker was not undrafted.
Yeah,
4.65.
Yeah, it's just, again, man, it's tough sometimes when you're betting on outliers. Like, it really is, because we have to remember, like, these scouts, I mean, their jobs are on the line, right? Like, it's easy for us to be like, oh man, he should have been drafted even if he ran 4.8. But again, if you are a scout and you're like, nope, I'm standing on the table, I'm pounding on the table right now, I'm telling you Xavier Restrepo is a really good player, he should get drafted in the 6th round. Like, he should. And then he turns out being nothing. That when you have your meeting with your superiors, it's like, man, we wasted a pick because of you. Like, you pounded on the table for that kid and that did not work. So you just have to pick your spots with that type of stuff. It's super interesting. I think he's a good player. I thought he was still maybe going to get drafted if he ran 4.8s. Like, I thought it'd be like a 7th round flyer potentially. But again, it's just hard to validate taking a 4.8, 5'11 wide receiver in a draft. It is a very hard thing to kind of validate.
Yeah, that's fair. So you mentioned, Ryan, that you coached high school football back in the day. Well, the Titans have an undrafted free agent rookie that Ryan used to draft. Now, or used to coach, excuse me,
Yes.
that Ryan used to coach in high school. So that's a fun connection there. We'll talk some about that on what the Titans are getting from one of Ryan's players that he coached.
Pupils,
but,
proteges.
Yeah, one of Ryan's pupils.
Whatever.
Exactly. So we'll ask you guys, what Titans rookie outside of Cam Ward, outside of Restrepo, are you most interested in seeing this weekend at Titans rookie minicamp? Because we've got a lot of players out here to get to, so we'll do that here in a moment. But first, I want to tell you guys about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute. If you have a hamstring injury like Xavier Restrepo did in his pro day, you can go to the thing checked out at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, Tennessee, off I-65 and Highway 96, right next door to Williamson Medical Center. They can take care of you there. They've taken care of me for some injuries that I've had back in the last few years. And don't let the thing linger. Go get it checked out, because like a lot of times people are like, this hurts, but I don't want to have the inconvenience of like going to the doctor and like dealing with it. I just want it to go away, and you just hope it goes away. Sometimes it does, sometimes it just doesn't. So when it doesn't, go to the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. That's the website to book an appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
Make sure you hit the like button, folks. We're about to talk, and I know some people don't like these conversations, but this is the important conversations to have. The players that are going to make up the bulk of the roster are going to make the back end of the roster. It could end up being dependable players long term. Before we get into that conversation, though, make sure you hit that like button and you are subscribed to this YouTube channel so you get every notification on every show that we do here at A to Z Sports. So make sure you do that. And then also Google reviews, 5 stars. If you have something that you want to be added to the show, if you have just some general criticism, if you have something that you want to say, make sure that you have a 5-star review on top of that criticism. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what Titans rookie outside of Cam, outside of Restrepo, are you most interested in seeing? Rookie asked, will Restrepo be there? Yes, he will be there, because Restrepo is one of these 16 players the Titans announced as UDFAs. We obviously know the draft class that they have with these 9 players that they drafted: Cam Ward plus 8, Oladipo, Kevin Winston Jr. Not sure. I think something we talked pre-show is, what will Kevin Winston Jr. do recovering from that ACL injury that he had in September? Chinwe Dike, Gunnar Helm, Elic Iomanor, Jackson Slater, Marcus Harris, and Khalil Mullings right there. But here is the group of 16 undrafted free agents, Xavier Restrepo being one of them. Ryan, one of these guys, one of these 16 you coached as a high schooler, who is it?
It's Cam Horsley, defensive tackle out of Boston College. He is from Cinnaminson, New Jersey here, which I coached for 3 seasons at Cinnaminson, coached at a couple of schools prior to that. But when I knew him, Austin, he was a 260-pound defensive tackle, offensive guard. Now he's a 315-pound behemoth nose tackle. So many moons ago, many pounds ago. But yes, Cam Horsley, defensive tackle out of Boston College, who was actually at the Senior Bowl this year as well.
Nice. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yep. So Saturday, should I go up to Cam and be like, hey, what do you call you? Coach Ryan? Would you Coach Roberts? Like, what would you?
I guess I would have been Coach Roberts. Funny enough, I actually reached out to Cam about a month and a half ago, right before the draft, seeing if he wanted to come on the A to Z Sports Film Room channel. He said, "Oh, hey, how are you?" Like, we had like a general conversation. I was like, "Hey, do you want to come on?" And he never responded. So maybe he won't. Maybe he won't say anything again. I don't know. But yeah, no. I mean, he was a great kid though. He actually has an older brother, Craig, who was a year ahead of him. So when he was a junior, Craig was a senior. Craig played defensive end. Cam was a defensive tackle, but like at this level here in Jersey, Simmons, and we're group 2 football is what we are here, and a group goes up to group 4 here in New Jersey. So we're on the lower end, but he was a man amongst boys, man. Like, he was a guy that would play defensive tackle, would play offensive guard on offense. He would block punts. Like, he was like that type of dude here in Jersey.
Blocking punts,
level,
man.
So, yeah. Oh, dude, we were in a playoff game one time against Hillsdale or Hillside. I can't remember which one it was. We ended up losing because that team was ridiculous. But the only reason we were in that game for a half was because of a blocked punt that went through the back of the end zone from big old Cam Horsley. So, yeah, man. Yep, really good football player in high school. And he ended up having a heck of a career at Boston College. Multi-year starter there at nose tackle.
Nice. So he's gained about 60 pounds since you coached him. D tackle for the Titans as an undrafted free agent. So what a rookie outside of Cam Ward, outside of maybe Restrepo, or you guys most interested in seeing? I'm trying to scroll back up here to the chat at the beginning of them.
I got it up too.
You got
I
it?
got up
Hit
too.
us with some chat answers if you can.
Yep. Rookie says Femi Oladejo is someone that he's excited to see. Obviously, the second round pass rusher out of UCLA.
Someone you guys did talk to on A to Z Sports
yes.
Film Room, by the way. Yep.
Yes, even though I didn't have a past relationship with him, he decided to come on. Thanks, Cam. SWW says Jackson Slater is the guy that he wants to see. We have Jeff who said Io Manor is a guy that he wants to see. We had a couple for Gunnar Helm as well. Johnny said Gunnar Helm. We also had Rooney Glover said he wanted to see Helm as well. Ellick from Ashley as well. Femi from Titans Kyle. Gunnar Helm from Will Dodson. We had Helm as well from James. Jason said that he wants to see Femi. He wants to see Femi up close and personal, see what he looks like. We had a couple Ellicks again from Darius Horton. From Demario. We had another Femi from Bork. Khalil Mullings, our first Khalil Mullings mentioned, the running back out of Michigan. We had Femi and Helm was someone that Antoine wanted to see. Ellick or Femi, so either one of those from Roz_Biggie. We had Helm from Chris. DK from Elias, would like to see DK. We had Helm from Ramon. Let me see. DK again from Yori. We had Io Manor. Yeah,
a lot of those fourth rounders, right? Which makes sense because shorts and t-shirts and helmets. You want to go see the guys who are catching the football from the quarterback, right? So Ryan, I want to ask you because you know more than me, way more than me, about these names because I know Xavier Restrepo. I now know a little bit about Cam Horsley. I know a couple of players, but that's about it. Who's a player that we haven't talked about yet that jumps off this list? You're like, that guy's a good player, went undrafted, and has a chance to make a career in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's somebody that actually Easton mentioned when we were doing our pre-show show was Jamari Harris, who's the corner from Iowa. He had a really productive last year. He's not the most athletically gifted corner of all time. So, he's not like the Cooper DeJeans that we've seen come out of Iowa in recent years or even a Riley Moss. But he's a really good zone-based corner that's really intelligent and had a lot of ball production this past year. So I think Harris is an interesting one. Obviously, with them letting go of Awuzie this offseason, I know the corner spot has become a little bit more of a bigger need as far as it being in flux a little bit. So I think Harris out of Iowa is a very interesting player to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think he's 6'1", so he's a bigger corner.
Yeah, he's a bigger corner. Not incredibly athletic. His change of direction isn't great, but really good eyes, really good discipline, instincts, that type of thing.
Yeah, because you have Snead, you've got obviously Brownlee on the outside. You've got a couple Gabe Duty-Lally that they liked from last year, Daryl Baker, who they liked from last year as your depth. But outside of that, there's opportunity, and I think Jamari Harris is a guy who could take advantage of that opportunity. Marcus Harris, the corner they drafted in the 6th round, is probably more of an inside guy, wouldn't you say?
Yep. Yeah. He's explosive. He ran 4.38, I think, at his pro day. So he's got good speed, but he's a little bit of a smaller guy. Started his career at Idaho, then transferred over to Cal this past year. But yeah, he's definitely more of the lighter body type, more of definitely a nickel type.
Right. So I'm going to pick a name because Harris was on my list of people that are intriguing. I think probably the tallest guy on the list is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, who's a tackle out of Florida. He's 6'7", 316 pounds.
He's the tallest by a landslide. I think. Other than that, I think the Auburn kid, I think might be 6'3" ish.
Yeah, I mean they've got 6 corners.
Nobody's there. Nobody's there. Yeah,
they got a running back, a short receiver, 6 cornerbacks, a safety. So they got a lot of DBs, a lot of short guys here. So Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is an interesting one. So he played at San Diego State before going to Florida, right? And so he's got the ability to play right and left tackle. So interesting, right? But I actually heard Ramon Foster this morning talking about him, and Ramon immediately was like, guard, NFL guard, which 6'7", tall NFL guard. And Ramon would know because Ramon was a 6'5", in a college tackle that had to move to guard because of lack of athleticism to play tackle at the highest of levels. And so I think, what do they do with Crenshaw Jackson? Is he a guard or is he actually a tackle? How do they view him? How does Bill Callahan view him?
He's an interesting player. San Diego State also has done a really good job of developing offensive tackles the last couple of years. I mean, outside of him, like Josh Simmons that was drafted in the first round to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Ohio State kid was a San Diego State kid as well. So they've done quietly a good job of developing offensive linemen. But for him, 6'7", it's tall for an interior offensive lineman, obviously, as a guard. It's not like you can do it if you have enough flexibility and you can play with
the Eagles. The Eagles did it with Becton, right? Mekhi Becton's like 6'7".
Yeah. The one thing that I have pause on him he's a little stiff, right? So like the stiffness gives me a little pause as if he's able to play with good enough pad level consistently. He didn't test overly well, but he's a pretty fundamentally sound kid. Like he's got good hands. He understands how to attack leverage, even though he's not the most flexible athlete of all time. So interested to see if he makes some noise and if is able to play. Because ultimately, if he makes the team as a UDFA, he's going to have to back up a couple different positions. So can he show that I can get you out of the game at right tackle, but also play a little bit inside when you need me as well?
It's funny. He's too tall and too stiff to be guard, but he's like too stiff to be a tackle. So it's like, that's why he's undrafted. You know, I guess that's the answer. They're all undrafted for a reason. So I think that's that's an interesting thing. So I will also want to see what we started the show with. What does Cam Ward look and feel like out there on the field? What does Kevin Winston Jr. do? And how do these young pass catchers pop with Cam Ward on Saturday? So I'll be out there for Titans rookie minicamp practice as well. So we can go ahead and get to some good news. So ain't that good news here on this Friday to wrap this show up. So if you have good news in the chat, get your good news ready and we'll share it with everybody. Good news time to wrap up this week.
You're muted, Austin. Sorry. Yep, you're good now. Yep.
To our friends at Holiday World and Splash Safari. They open tomorrow. Santa Claus, Indiana, 2.5 hours north of Nashville. Santa Claus, Indiana, Holiday World Splash Safari for roller coasters, water park. Shout out to them. Opening tomorrow. Get your tickets at holidayworld.com. Use our code ATOZ for bonus $5 off your tickets for Holiday World this summer for all your family fun. Good news time for everybody in the chat. I did see some good news. Daniel mentioned that Van Jefferson's high school in Brentwood, which is Ravenwood, won the girls flag football state championship this week with the first girls flag football state championship. So awesome. You coached Cam Horsley in high school. I coached Van Jefferson when he was in high school.
Really?
Yeah, because awesome. Son of former Titans wide receiver coach Sean Jefferson. He and there was a group of Titans assistants whose sons all went to Ravenwood and played on that team that I think were state champ runner-ups when Van was a senior.
I was going to say you had to be pretty good then, right? You had to be a pretty good team then.
Cole Brown was the quarterback throwing to Van. He was the son of Steve Brown, the Titans assistant. Nice. So you had some high-level sons there. So let's see. You see any good news from the chat?
Yep, we got a bunch of good news. So this is a tremendous one to start. Bustin' Diamond said, "My wife and I are having a boy. Congratulations. That's awesome. That's great." And we 2 fathers on the set now, which is hilarious. Yep, that's it. So we understand the joys of finding out that great news. So congratulations. Zachary Goodman says, "Good news. Fireworks at the Chattanooga Lookouts tonight." Okay, there we go.
Minor league baseball.
Oh,
Friday night fireworks.
Always love fun. It. That's really cool. This is kind of funny. Jeff said, "Good news. Chicago got a Pope before a 4K passer." That's hilarious.
How about you ready for a Titans Pope connection? I tweeted this out yesterday. Bill Callahan, Titans offensive line coach and father to head coach Brian Callahan, went to high school with the Pope's older brother, and the Pope's mom worked there. And then the Pope actually ended up teaching at that high school later on, but
interesting.
The Pope is a year older than Bill, but went to seminary school because obviously.
He went to Villanova, right? Is that
Villanova,
went to
so
Villanova?
outside of Philadelphia, which is around your neck of the woods. Yep.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yeah. So interesting, very interesting. It was funny though, Jeff. That was a good little comment there. James says that Titans rookies are on the field today. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. That's some great news. Daniel says, good news. My pool is finally up to 82 degrees. Barbecue pool party this weekend.
All right.
There we go. Good news from Johnny says, good news. Going to see Jelly Roll this weekend. Okay. Donald said we finally got a GTA 6 release date and a new trailer. Man, I haven't played GTA in a minute.
I haven't either. How about this? So a guy I went to college with, really creative guy, has been doing he's produced commercials he lived in New York.
Okay.
I realized through his Instagram that he was one of the ones that produced the new trailer for GTA 6.
That's wild.
He's actually he said in his Instagram story that his on that trailer, his voice is mixed in on one of when the music's playing in the trailer, his voice is on there too. I was like, that's cool.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's very cool.
But yeah, I haven't played GTA in I don't know,
a lot.
Approaching 20 years.
So the last GTA that came out was what year? I mean, I feel like that was a while ago now, right? There's been a big gap between this most recent one that's coming out and the last one, right? It's been crazy.
I think GTA 3 was the last one that I played.
Yeah. We had Nick that said that the good news for him was that his New York Knicks are up 2-0 on the hated Celtics. So this is a lose-lose series for me because unfortunately I am a Sixers fan with where I am regionally, and I hate both the Knicks and the Celtics. So I don't know what to do with this series right now. I mean, it's been entertaining to see the Knicks just come from behind and do what they're doing, but it's not great. We had Jason who said that he's buying his first house. So congratulations with his wife.
Big deal, Jason.
That's
Ryan, you got some good news this week?
Yeah. Good news. I did just have, it's Mother's Day this weekend. Right?
That's right.
It's Mother's Day this weekend. So this is a weekend that is going to be a lot of fun, I think. I did my best to get as much work done this week so that I can give my wife the full attention on Sunday, going out later. My wife is gluten-free and dairy-free, by the way. So I had to go to a nice gluten-free bakery where I'm actually taking my girls today after work to go get her some gluten-free treats, going to go out, get her flowers, all that type of stuff. And the cool part about this weekend is doing all those errands seems cool to my daughters, right? So they're like, yes. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. My daughter thinks they're doing something really fantastic, but in actuality, you're just doing errands with dad right now. So good news on that one. I don't have to pull teeth.
Hot take, maybe not hot take. Gluten-free cake better than regular cake.
So I had my sister-in-law is also gluten-free. There's a couple gluten-free people in my wife's family. And she made, I don't know if you like carrot cake. I don't know. That's a little bit of an acquired taste. Yes. But she made a gluten-free carrot cake a couple weeks ago, and it was better than any carrot cake I've ever had. So there's some gluten-free things, Dan, that are really, really good. A little bit underrated, honestly.
Basically, I like fudge more than cake. And so if you take the flour and the gluten out of the cake, it's closer to fudge than it is cake, which is why that's my take. Gluten-free cake, 2 thumbs up. Cake, 1 thumb up. Cake's still good. Gluten-free cake, if it's done right, is really damn good. Yes. So my good news, outside of it being Mother's Day weekend, which is always fun for everybody.
Your wife's first one too, so congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Right. Big day. So Malachi adjusted my good news because I think this is going to be more fun. Because yesterday we found out that Easton has no Rolodex of Adam Sandler movies pre 2005. So I want to know, Ryan, what your Adam Sandler experience is like, because I don't know if you saw this, but I put together something based off of the James Gladstone, Travis Hunter speech that really made me think one of the best Adam Sandler 90s moments. So here's this, and then we'll get to your Adam Sandler viewing experience.
Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right? Thinking about the sport of football.
The puppy who lost his way.
Its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many may deem impossible.
The world was changing, and the puppy was getting bigger.
Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right? He's a rare person, he's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged.
So you see, the puppy was like industry, in that they were both lost in the woods. And nobody, especially the little boy, society, knew where to find them.
And we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him. From the football field to the city to the game of football itself, Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up.
Except that the puppy was a dog. But the industry, my friends, that was a revolution.
Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
Nib High football rules!
So I can see your face watching that. That was the first time you've seen that.
I think you posted that on Twitter, right? I feel like that did come across my timeline, but I didn't get a chance to watch it, which is hilarious. I mean, so did Easton not know Billy Madison? Is that like where this?
No, he's never seen Billy Madison. He knows that speech, and he knows the whole like we're all dumber for that nonsense and no points and God have mercy on your soul. He knows that part, but he's never seen the movie. And so I'm like, what? You've never seen that? And I was like, have you seen Happy Gilmore? He's like, no. I was like, have you seen Big Daddy? He goes, I don't even know what Big Daddy is. I was like, have you seen Waterboy? He was like, I know what Waterboy is, but I've never seen Waterboy.
He's never seen
Waterboy.
Waterboy.
I was like, Mr. Deeds. He's like, he has no idea.
You can't cover the game of football and never seen Waterboy before.
Well,
like,
Easton Freeze covers the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
Has grown up in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
And has never seen the movie Remember the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
Nor has he seen Space Jam, which is just something that you have to see as a child.
He's never seen Space Jam? Man, this has hurt my childhood. Has he seen like Karate Kid or anything? I know that's a little bit of a different genre, but like there's some that you just need to see, and that is absolutely one of them.
See, Brad says Easton's uncultured. The problem is Easton's like more seeing like the musicals and stuff. Like he goes and sees like the higher level, like film without like.
So he's a snob. He's a snob, is what you're
exactly.
saying.
He's a snob, and he missed his childhood.
No, I mean, I grew up on Adam Sandler. I mean, he went through a tough stretch as I got older of like The Cobbler and That's My Boy, and like there was a couple stinkers obviously in there, sure. But like I mean, Billy Madison's a classic, Happy Gilmore's a classic, The Waterboy is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, even The Wedding Singer, I think, is underrated. Like, there's a lot of good Adam Sandler films. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, that was literally my childhood. So
I think here's the thing. Because when we were watching the Billy Madison hits of the 90s, Ocho, I think, is onto it. Easton was watching The Sound of Music. We watch The Sound of Music at school, right? But, like, not, like, at home, right? So I think that's the big difference of our growth, of our youth. No Little Nicky. No, nothing.
Little Nicky. Oh man, that was an interesting one. Mr. Deeds you mentioned. Mr. Deeds was a little bit of an acquired taste if you like Adam Sandler films. I'd say. I don't know. That one was a little. I love
Mr. Deeds.
You love Mr. Deeds? Okay. Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm actually curious now. I want to text Easton and ask him like what his type of comedy is because like for my wife has seen the Adam Sandler movies, but it's not her favorite because she considers it like lowbrow. She's a little bit more of like dry humor type of person. Yeah. So like, that's kind of her thing. But like, I love the like stupid humor, like Dumb and Dumber and Adam Sandler movies and like all that type of stuff.
Yeah, because like, I'm 12 years old,
Exactly.
Come on.
Also, it's an anger management. You ever seen Anger Management?
Yes.
That was an interesting one. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my good news is that I knew today that Ryan would have a deeper appreciation and a legitimate appreciation for
yeah.
for the Adam Sandler movies that Easton did yesterday.
We're in a closer age bracket than what you
Sure.
and Easton are, and then what I am and Easton are. So yes, I
Yes,
think there's
so,
definitely
like-
appreciation. Yeah,
Because you're what, early mid 30s?
I'm
30, yeah.
33.
So I'm 35. Easton's 25. So there's a big difference of Sandler. Sandler was done hitting home runs when Easton was
Yes.
born.
man. But for that like few year stretch, my guy was Barry Bonds, Aaron Judge, whoever great stretch you've ever seen of a baseball player or any athlete in general. Like Adam Sandler was out of the park every single year. It felt like it was incredible.
He got
He
hot.
went on the Kelsey's podcast a couple months ago, and I had to tune into that because that guy also kind of seems like a guy that I would just have a beer with occasionally. Like he just seems like a very down to earth dude. So yeah,
Yep.
love it.
Seems like I've heard really good stories about Sandler, but anyway, that's it for us on this Friday. I will be at Titans rookie minicamp practice tomorrow. We'll have content galore all over the internet, all over our socials and the website. So make sure you subscribe to our channels, you like and follow our social media outlets as well for all this rookie minicamp conversation. We'll talk more about it next week. Hope everybody has a great, safe Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there as well. We'll catch you guys later on. Appreciate it as always. Talk to you later.